Good evening, beloved souls. Welcome to Thursday, your power day, your reminder to know who you are, to live in the space of beauty and love and joy. And remember, all things begin and end in love. And so, welcome to today. I just want to take this moment to address a few things before we get started on this evening's topic, which is a continuation from last week. So if you missed last week, go back, watch the highlights, or watch the entire video. It's up to you. But that way you get a sense and feel of where we are in anchoring in and this new energy as we clear the old. And so before we begin, I do have a few announcements. First announcement is July 18th, next week. I am going to be doing the Star Seed Summit with Portal to Ascension. So you guys could check out the link in my bio to get free tickets for that, free registration. It's a whole day live. You can interact with us, connect with us, and really begin to understand the Star Seed origins and beyond. That's number one. Number two, August 8th, Lionsgate Portal. I have very, very limited space available for this Trauma to Treasure seminar, to where we will go ahead and have this open discussion about trauma. And then we will close it by doing a special clearing to let go of the old and allow for the new as we are going through this process together as I'm sharing my story with you. And there was something else. There was something else. I can't remember. But those are the two primary things. Also join the school community. So check out all the links in the description. They would take you where you need to go. So last week we talked about how do you know you are living in a traumatized state. I shared my personal story last week about how I was living in a traumatized state and where I was living, how I was living, and how I obviously ignored the signs, because when you're in love, you just see love and you always step into this space of optimism, of wanting the best, being the best, and stepping into that optimistic energy. And that's what it is. It's, not living in the best space of discernment, but we are living in the space of hope and optimism, because that's what love is. Love is many things. Love is hope. Love is joy. Love is peace. Love is happiness. Love is all these myriad of levels that we allow ourselves to express and we allow ourselves to get to in these little spaces and places. We get there and we hold on to love regardless of what anyone else says. And sometimes we ignore our own intuition, we ignore ourselves, we ignore our own soul to really live in love, because that's what we all want. At the end of the day, we all want love. And at the end of the day, we all go back to love. When we make our final transition, we go back to that space. But in the in between time, from the beginning and the end, everything that's happening now is the middle. Everything from our birth to our transition in this physical reality is the middle. And we made it up so that way we can level up. We made up our space, our time, our energy to get to the next level. And so when we are in the space of living in trauma, we live sometimes in this space of being optimistic that things will be better. Things have to get better. Things just can't be this bad, because I am, hoping that this person will change. And if I change, this person will change too. If I act better, or if I be better, if I walk on eggshells, whatever it is, we live in this space of optimism, hoping that things will be better if we change, if we want change, if we, exhibit change or be that example of change. That's what we want. And, you know, living in a state of trauma versus tonight's topic, which is when was the moment you realized you were ready to transform your life? Those are two totally different things. And sometimes they're intertwined, and sometimes they go hand in hand, because the moment you realize that you were living in trauma, as I expressed last week, was that moment where you got, and I can laugh at this now, but literally hit in the head. Said, oops, I was living in trauma. I guess I got to change my life. That was a moment I knew that I had to transform, especially, living in shame, living in that shame of what happened to me as a 30 something year old man, living in that space. And it was like, well, what do I do now? You begin to question everything. And that's what this is about. We step into the space of shame, because trauma is this elevator, because we have normalized our lives. And with us living in this elevator, this container of denial, this couldn't happen to me. Oh, wait, it did happen to me. How do I live with this? How do I live with this shame? And we go through a period of time, a while, with this cloak, with this heaviness over us, trying to figure out what it is that we need to do to transform our life. So I want to hear from some of you guys as I continue to express this. What was the moment when you realized you wanted to transform your life? As I continue this journey to express, the moment for me, you know, and sometimes the universe makes the choice for you. The universe makes the choice for you. The moment for me when I wanted to transform my life was when I was actually in the hospital bed, in the ER. And my aunt came in and she had her anointing oil and she prayed over me. You know, that was a moment I knew things just had to be better. I was holding out for hope, holding out for change, holding out for my life just has to get better than what this is. You know, being a 30 something year old man, living this life, living this lie, living in this space where, yeah, things just has to get better. And when I finally came out from under the shame, having to wear a hat to work every day for like about 2 weeks, um, hiding from my friends, hiding from my family. I didn't want to hide anymore. And I think that goes hand in hand with anything. When we step into the space of hiding ourselves, hiding our identity, trauma is that as well. When we hide our identity, we step into the space of trauma because we are still trying to figure out who we are. And everyone is expressing, well, you should be this or you should be that, you should be this individual. But me personally, growing up, number one, as a black man and a fair skinned black man, where I was either too dark, not dark enough, not light enough, all these things, all these things, being that one person in the room. I was like, oh, well, maybe I can get away with it because of my skin color. Maybe not because I'm not dark enough. All these things that play into that. And then, when I was 17, I came out to my family and it was like, okay, well, now I'm black, now I'm gay. Okay, the society, I have two strikes against me. What am I going to do? And so I was in this place of hiding, my identity, hiding who I was. Obviously, I couldn't hide the fact that I was black, but I could hide the fact that I was gay. So I did things that weren't uh, considered gay or gay tendencies. But, I still always went out to the dance club with my friends. I had no shame in that. But there are certain aspects of my life where I hid that. And that hiding created this internal space of trauma to where I began to just settle. And that's what trauma does. Trauma guides you into this space of settling for less because you're living in hope to have something better. You're living in the space of optimism to have something more with what you have. But how can you have more with what you have if you don't allow yourself to come out from hiding, to expand yourself? How can you have more if you don't trust yourself? How can you have more if you don't allow for this expansion? How can you have that if you don't trust what's in your heart? How can you have the more when you don't decide to transform your life? So, anything that anyone would like to share about the moments where you began to realize you were ready to transform your life? And for me, it was gradual. It was, after that moment of being in the hospital. It's like, no, I'm ready. I'm ready for this change. And with that preparation, because the universe prepares you for change, sometimes we're not ready. And when the opportunity shows up for us to transform our life, we can opt out and say, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And then the opportunity passes you by. But yet, the opportunity shows up again. Universe is saying, well, here's another opportunity for you to transform your life. Are you ready now? And you can say Y for yes, N for no. And this is one thing about the universe you have to understand. The universe doesn't push, it presents. It presents you with things that you are ready for when you are ready for it. And this goes back to understanding the law of vibration. When you are in the field of resonance with what you want to change in your life, the universe presents to you the opportunity to change, to transform. But it's entirely up to you, the soul, to make that choice, to accept that offer, that presentation of I am ready. And boy, I tell you, there were times when I wasn't ready to accept what I've been asking for. And even now, there are times, am I ready for this now? Do I want this? Yeah. But how does it show up? How is it going to present itself? And sometimes the signs are clear as the sun, and other times it's as cloudy as a rainy day. You just have to step into your space of intuition, your inner knowing, and say, this is what I've asked for. And sometimes you have to ask and command for this energy to show up in a way where you can understand that this is how the universe works through these transformational moments. You command the energy to show up in a way where you can recognize it, to where you know it, and say, please show up to me in a way that I can recognize what I'm asking for. No cloak and daggers, no masquerading, no riddles, none of that. Show up in a way where I can understand, know, and recognize this. And when you do that, things begin to manifest in the space of transformation that you've asked for. Because when you really understand the moment you realized you were ready to transform your life, that's when the universe steps up because you stepped up. You stepped up to recognize yourself. You stepped up to recognize your own energy. And what's funny about this, there have been many, many times, and this happens in increments. When you allow yourself to step into the space of transformation, it's incremental. Because sometimes if it happens all at once, you overwhelm your body, you overwhelm your nervous system, you overwhelm everything. But sometimes it has to happen that way so you can just receive it and hmm, just receive it. I'm on the fence because there's this vision of this story that keeps popping in my head, that I don't think I've ever shared. Maybe I shared it once, but it's like this. Like you got to talk about this. You got to talk about this. And so I guess I'm going to talk about it. um, yes, and those who been following me for a while, there's always a slight hesitation when share something deeply personal. And so I have been wanting to be in love for a while, you know. And not saying that I haven't been in love. I've been in a few relationships where I was in love, and sometimes love is fleeting in a sense. Love is this space that is open, allowing you to experience it, to experience the many levels of love. And love is a very potent energy when given and exchanged correctly in the space of reciprocity. Love is beautiful. And at every moment, uh, when I was ready for change, especially when it came to relationships, I was proposed to uh, two times, maybe three times, two, maybe three times. I'm thinking of, I know two for sure. One was kind of iffy. But anyway, that's not the point. Uh, I say that because, I obviously didn't get married to these individuals because it was in the space, yes, three times. Um, it was in the space of me not ready for that type of commitment because when you do things in desperation, things don't always turn out the way that they're supposed to, or things don't turn out the way that they should, because that we are living in this space of desperation of this is the end all be all. This is going to be my last relationship. There's not going to be anyone better than this person. Talking about me, uh, and I just have to do everything I can to hold on to them. And it was not in my best interest. It was not in my best interest to stay connected to that space because I listened and thank goodness I listened. uh, because it just wasn't who I was. It just wasn't in the space of really being in alignment with self. And I was lying. I would have been lying to myself. I would not have been integrity with myself. And that's what transformation is. Transformation, honoring that transformation is being honest with yourself, being in a space of integrity with yourself, knowing that this is what you want, knowing that you are committed to this choice of transformation. And that's what transformation is, being committed to whatever choice it is. You stand by that, you honor that wholeheartedly, without waver. And if you falter in that committed choice, the opportunity will be presented again in a different package, in a way that is more receptible, digestible for your field, for your soul to obtain, to connect with. And so when we speak of transformation, we talk about it in a way that is honoring yourself and your soul. There's these moments that I can remember in my life where it was magical moments, things I did that I didn't realize I could do. But I trusted myself, I trusted spirit. So you can do this. Do you know how capable you are? Do you know the power, the light that you hold and carry for you to be able to do this? I'm like, no, I don't know. So show me. Show me what I can do. And that's when you give in and give trust to self, to creator, as we hold this frequency, because we all create a consciousness. We are a fractal of this divine energy. So when we allow ourselves to come into that alignment and trust that energy to flow uninterrupted, we can give and honor that space. And so, yeah, that's what transformation is. You know, it happens incrementally. And even now, as I'm sitting here, I'm not done. I'm still transforming. I'm still honoring my path. And it's not going to be done until I get back to source. Nothing's ever going to be completed. This is an ever evolution. Ever evolution, meaning that you will never ever be done. You are constantly evolving, constantly moving, constantly shifting, constantly transforming. The one true constant in this grand universe is change. So get used to it, people. Nothing will ever stay the same. The way you wake up, the air that you breathe, the food that you eat, nothing will ever stay the same. You're different today than you were yesterday. Accept it. Accept the change, accept the transformation, and just know that when you step into the space of acceptance, things will flow better. Things will flow differently. And sometimes we cling to the old because it's what makes us safe. We cling to the old because it's how we feel inside that makes us comfortable and allowing us to know, so, this feels good. And then you begin to question, can this be better? Yes. How can I make it better? I don't know. Then you feel, you trust. And it's a challenge right now to trust. It's a challenge right now to feel because everything's on the surface. There's no more hiding anything. Can't hide. There's nothing to hide from. And if you're hiding from yourself. So ask yourself, what are you hiding from? Who are you hiding? And what matters to you? And once you figure that out, things begin to open up and allow for something even greater, allow for something even more. I hope you guys enjoyed my monologue. Hope you guys enjoyed this monologue. And stay tuned because I do have some things coming up, as I mentioned at the top of the monologue. Next weekend is the Star Seed Summit. Check the link in the bio for that. What else did I say? I said something else too. Oh yeah, August 8th, Lionsgate, Trauma to Treasure, very limited space gathering to where we would clear space, trauma, all that stuff together. I know I have a lot in my head and I'm still in this, like, yeah, this is what it is. This is what letting go feels like. Just being happy. Letting go is being happy. And next week, I'm actually going to be on Esoteric Atlanta podcast, so be on the lookout for that as well. So I'm working on a few things new, a few projects, but just remember that I'm always here to be of service to you at whatever capacity you see fit and feel comfortable with. I am here because everything begins and ends in love. Till next week, beautiful souls, have an amazing day, amazing week. And remember to always trust yourself.